They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals.
Orange juice, candy, a toy, some water bottles. This is what they keep black kids for. A bunch of nothing. Taking their lives and their futures, robbing them from their families, all of it, for nothing. The sickest part is that nobody's held accountable for it, right? Like, logically, if you take someone's life, be it on purpose or on accident, there is some type of consequence for that action. And yet, never for our black kids, never. What happened to Cyrus Carmack Belton was horrific and sad. Shot in the back at 14 years old over some water bottles. But this is in line with a long history of penalizing and brutalizing black kids for nothing, even if he stole those water bottles, which he didn't. Water bottles were worth his whole life, and a jury decided, no consequence for that. Shooting a kid over water bottles. But a jury never finds any of it to be enough. Not when it's candy or toys or orange juice. It's never enough. It's never worth protecting our kids or holding them accountable, and we are not angry enough about it.
Black children don't get to be innocent. America has shown us time and time again that they will put a child's blackness before anything when deciding whether or not that child gets to live or die. You've seen that in the stories of Emmett Till, George Stinney, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown. On March 16, 1991, in Los Angeles, California, 15-year-old Latasha Harlins walks into a convenience store, and from the moment she walks in, she's racially profiled. The store owner accuses Latasha of stealing a $1.79 bottle of orange juice. Latasha says, no, she's not. I'm going to pay for it. The store owner then grabs Latasha, grabs her backpack, and when Latasha tries to walk away, the store owner shoots her in the back of the head, killing her instantly. $1.79 is all Latasha's life was worth. And even worse, the store owner gets 5 years probation, no jail time. That sounds real familiar to the story of Cyrus Carmack Belton, a 14-year-old black boy who was accused by a gas station owner in Columbia, South Carolina, of stealing a water bottle. Cyrus didn't steal the water bottle. He ran away, and the gas station owner still shot him in the back. And that murderer was just found not guilty. When you're a black child in America, you better grow up quick, because you don't get to be innocent.
A young black girl was kidnapped and murdered in Missouri by white men. And an 18-year-old black boy was found shot, burned, and dismembered in Alabama. And somehow these stories are not dominating the news and dominating the media right now. Again, we are having the conversation of whose pain gets treated like an emergency, of which children get attention when they're in need. A young black girl, a child, was found kidnapped and murdered in the woods. And according to the reports, the suspects are mostly white. You want to tell me why they're not reporting on it? And just yesterday, an 18-year-old black boy, a teenager, who had his entire life ahead of him, his life plan, was found shot, burned, and dismembered in Alabama. And I just want to keep pointing to the fact that it's Alabama because, well, and his own family had to search for him, by the way. Can you even begin to grasp how horrific that is? Somebody's child was shot, burned, and dismembered. These were somebody's children who were supposed to come home and they did not. And yet these stories are not receiving the kind of national outrage and news coverage that it's deserved. And yes, race absolutely matters in this conversation. It matters in everything. Black children, especially black girls, have historically been overlooked in missing person cases. They are often adultified, dehumanized, and seen as less innocent, less worthy of public empathy. This is not me making it about race. This is a documented issue. If you're gonna be ignorant, get the fuck off my feet. If a young white girl was kidnapped and murdered by a group of fucking black men, do you know what they would do? They would stop every nigga walking on the street. So let's dead this conversation, right? The coverage will be everywhere. The outrage will be deafening. Let's stop acting brand. And again, with the 18-year-old young man, sorry, he's really a boy. He's 18. He's still a teenager. Please. He was murdered in a way that sounds like it's something out of a nightmare. So why is there not enough outrage? And this is at the same time. This is our black youth being brutally murdered in a short period of time. Our black children are being murdered and brutally. Emmett Till was murdered in 1955 brutally. What's different to right now? Think about all the black children that have died since Emmett Till. What's changed? They're normalizing black suffering. Well, it's been normalized for a while. No, but these were young lives, young black lives that mattered. And they won't even give them the decency of saying their names and telling us what happened and sharing what happened to them on the news. I had to search thumb and nail to figure out and find these pictures of these white men. Rest in peace to these young black children, and I'm sending my condolences to their friends and their families. I'm
sorry, but this is exactly the kind of stuff that makes so many black people feel exhausted. How are 3 black teenagers reportedly gone in one single month, and half the country barely even knows their names? We're talking about Kayla Huff, Marquise Rumpel, and Juliana. 3 black children, 3 heartbreaking cases. And somehow people are only now hearing about them through social media instead of nonstop national coverage. And as a black woman, I'm going to be honest, that hurts. Because every time something happens to black children, it feels like families got to beg people to care, beg people to share the story, beg people to keep pressure on these cases so they don't disappear after a few days. Meanwhile, black culture gets consumed every single day. Everybody loves the music, the slang, the trends, the influence. But when black families are grieving, suddenly the room gets real quiet. And that is the part hitting people emotionally online, because visibility matters, media attention matters, public pressure matters. It keeps communities informed, helps tips come in, and reminds families that their children mattered. Nobody is saying every case gets ignored on purpose. But people are asking why it so often feels like black families have to fight twice, first through the tragedy itself and then through the silence afterward. And honestly, I understand why people are angry. These were real children, real families, real pain. So people online are asking others to repost these stories, tag news outlets, stitch videos, and keep these names alive instead of letting these cases disappear after one news cycle. I really want to know how y'all feel about this.
The past week alone, 3 black women were found dead. They were murdered. The first one I'm going to mention is Kayla Huff. She was 16 years old and she was found dead in the woods in Missouri. The suspects is around her age, they're white, and one of the suspects happens to be her ex-boyfriend that she recently broke up with. I have completely lost count how many black women has lost their lives due to ending a relationship, especially when it comes to a white man. The same thing happened to Ashley Janae when she was traveling in Africa. Except they didn't break up, they got into an argument, the white man blew up, and he decided to lynch her in her bedroom. Rest in peace to Kayla Huff and Ashley Janae. Second is another 16-year-old black girl named Juliana Nazita that was found lynched in Charlotte, North Carolina. She was declared missing on April 28th and found dead on May 18th. Crazy part about this was she was found lynched on church property. History has constantly shown that black people are always being lynched on church property. Once again, white people using Christianity as their tool and weapon to silence black people and their lives. Last but not least, Marcavius Rump, an 18-year-old boy who recently graduated high school, was found murdered, burned, and dismembered in Alabama. Out of these 3 murders, 2 of them try to be ruled out as a suicide. Once again, you cannot trust the police because the police are backing it up. No matter how many good apples are out there, police officers has committed more harm and evil towards the black community than anything else. It's been extremely rough these last few months for the black community. Hell, ever since that orange turd came into office, it's been going downhill. Black lives are under attack. Black votes, black rights, and black freedom is under attack. And to all the people of color who was watching this, if black people lose our rights and our freedom, so do you too. It starts with us, then they come for you too. Black people are always the first line of defense, not by choice, but simply because this country hates us more. That's all I have to say in the matter. Rest in peace to Juliana, Kayla, Ashley, and Marcavius. This is Onyx and I'm gone.
They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals. Frankly, they were born to be criminals.
And I want to speak directly to our children as well. And please hear me loud and clear. Do not listen to what Donald Trump called you yesterday. When the president from the Oval Office calls you natural-born killers, children who are born to be violent, I say this: I respect the office, but I will never honor ignorance. To our children, you are loved and you're needed. To our children, we believe in you and we invest in you. To our children, we love you and we are going to honor every God-honored potential that you have. To our children, there's nothing we won't do to keep you safe. To our children, we love you and we are going to make sure that you are never bullied. And I don't care what position they hold. Because I want to be clear, if I listened, when I was coming up, if I listened to the tropes and to the trolls, if I listened to the haters and the heartless, if I listened to the Archie Bunker mindset and the dog whistling, if I spent my time focusing on those people who did not love me instead of focusing on those people who do, I would never be the 63rd governor of the state of Maryland and the only black governor in the United States of America. Here in Maryland, we believe in you. We're going to support you. We're going to make sure you're safe. And we're going to make sure that every God-honored opportunity is within your grasp.
A 1-year-old black boy, 1 year old, was shot and killed by the police in Mississippi. His name, Cohen Wiley. This is coming on the heels of watching Carmelo Anthony, a black teenager who defended himself against a group of white teenagers, get sentenced to 35 years in prison. A kid who had a 3.7 GPA, was a star athlete, was in leadership in the school, who never had any run-ins with the law, got sentenced to 35 years. This is coming on the heels of watching another person get off with chasing a black child down 130 yards, shooting him in the back, and getting found not guilty for self-defense. I cannot emphasize enough, if you are not a black person, you need to be speaking up about this stuff, especially about Cohen Wiley. You need to be speaking your silence as loud as fuck. A lot of y'all are not walking the walk right now. And not only that, if you're a black person, I need y'all to be having conversations with the black boys in your life, the black girls too, hell, all the black children. We are actively witnessing a society that is demonizing, villainizing, and actively trying to harm all of us. I wish I had more words. Like, it's just to a point of exhaustion, and I don't know, I think it's just really sick. Yeah. Hold your loved ones close. Oh, by the way, the 1-year-old child who was shot and killed by the police, they did so because they assumed, allegedly, they alleged that the mom and the mom's friend were stealing diapers. A pack of diapers is worth a 1-year-old's life in the eyes of the law. Cyrus, the 14-year-old kid who was killed in South Carolina by Rick Chow, his crime, them thinking that he stole a water bottle, which he didn't. Yeah. Hold your loved ones close.
Mississippi police shot and killed a 1-year-old black baby over an allegedly stolen box of diapers. One box of diapers to them was worth a baby's life. On June 14th, 1-year-old Cohen Wiley was in the car with his mother and aunt after they had left the Walmart carrying one box of diapers that were allegedly stolen. The police's response? Opened fire on their car in Walmart in the middle of the day in broad daylight, taking the life of that little baby and wounding his aunt. It's worth noting that reports on the ground are saying that that box of diapers wasn't even stolen. They bought it and had a receipt for it, but somebody had called saying it was stolen, and now that baby is gone, and his mother is grieving with no baby over a singular box of diapers. I don't care if they were stolen or not. A baby isn't worth a box of diapers. And do you know how desperate you have to be to steal diapers, much less a box of diapers, just one? This is a system that cannot be reformed because this is a system doing what they think is its job. It is not to protect people. It is not to help people. It is not to offer aid. It is to cause harm and pain and suffering under the guise of power and control. No amount of kind words, good energy, or even action is enough to bring this family the comfort that they deserve in this dark, dark hour. But we need to do all of that and more anyway, because that baby should be here. And the fact that he isn't should outrage everyone. Everyone.
Dehumanized and seen as less innocent, less worthy of public empathy. This is not me making it about race. This is a documented issue. You're gonna be ignorant, get the fuck off my page. If a young white girl was kidnapped and murdered by a group of fucking black men, do you know what they would do? They would stop every nigga walking on the street. So let's dead this conversation right. The coverage will be everywhere. The outrage will be deafening. Let's stop acting brand. And again, with the 18-year-old young man, sorry, he's really a boy. He's 18. He's still a teenager. Please. He was murdered in a way that sounds like it's something out of a nightmare. So why is there not enough outrage? And this is at the same time. This is our black youth being brutally murdered in a short period of time. Our black children are being murdered and brutally. Emmett Till was murdered in 1955 brutally. What's the difference right now? Think about all the black children that have died since Emmett Till. What's changed? They're normalizing black suffering. Well, it's been normalized for a while. Nevertheless, these were young lives, young black lives that mattered. And they won't even give them the decency of saying their names and telling us what happened and sharing what happened to them on the news. I had to search thumb and nail to figure out and find these pictures of these white men. Rest in peace to these young black children, and I'm sending my condolences to their friends and their families and their loved ones.
Black parents stating that they have to teach their black children to be careful when they are the only black kid in a group of white friends is racist. Is it racist, or is it pattern recognition based on a long, painful history? Stay with me before you get mad, because I think a lot of people completely overlook why these conversations are even had. This is not just about Nolan Wells. This is a pattern. No, not every case is the same, and no, not every suspicious death is a murder. But when people die, disappear, or get hurt with a group of friends they were supposed to trust, and the story always comes back unanswered, people remember. People remember Kendrick Johnson, a 17-year-old black boy who was found deceased at school rolled up in a gym mat, and it was ruled an accident. After there was missing surveillance footage, one of the children's dads ended up working for the FBI, and Kendrick Johnson's organs were all missing from his body. We remember Tamla Horsford, a black mother who went to an adult sleepover, the only black lady there. She ended up accidentally falling from a balcony, but despite everyone there, no one could ever give a confirmed story of what happened. People remember Elijah Witherspoon, an 18-year-old black teenager who went boating with his white friends in South Carolina, drowned. It was ruled not a homicide, but no questions have ever been answered as to what happened. People remember the black teen that got attacked by several white adults, and the sheriff himself had to ask for a SBI investigation after people pointed out that he was related to the female in the video. People remember the black little boy that was just left across the river while his white friends and their parents sat across there mocking him, dehumanizing him, humiliating him, and repeating racist remarks towards him while he was over there scared for his life, trying to force him to swim across, even though he told them he could not swim and he was scared. Thank God that family was there to help him across, or he could have been just like Elijah or just like Nolan. And now, speaking of Nolan, we have conflicting times, conflicting explanations, a phone that reportedly left the island without him, and a phone that was reportedly returned to his mother with messages deleted. We have a parent connected to the friend group that is a judge. No, of course, none of that proves a crime, but we've seen enough of these cases to where we're not going to let another one go unanswered. Because a lot of you guys watched that video of that black little boy being stranded across the river, and you laughed and thought it was a joke and thought it was funny. Kids, friendly banter back and forth. No, that was not a joke. That was dehumanization. That video gave us a perfect example of how someone can be like, oh, but we're best friends, while still not treating that black child as their equal. Real friends don't humiliate you. Real friends don't leave you stranded across a river. Real friends don't take the one person from the group that feels uncomfortable in water and can't swim, leave them over there in fear for their lives, and sit there and laugh about it. That's not a fucking joke. This is exactly how preventable accidents happen. When you stop viewing someone else's fear, safety, and dignity as equal to yours, and you start treating it like the butt of a joke. So this is exactly why black parents have to have conversations with their children that white parents don't have to have. And the saddest part is, black people do not have these conversations with their children because they want to, because they don't like white people, because they're racist. They have to. This is absolutely taught. You may not be sitting down with your children, giving them a history lesson on every racial slur that was ever said, but what do they hear when the news comes on? So instead of getting mad, just think for 1 second what goes on in your home. What do they hear when it's something involving a black person? Do they hear you call them thugs, criminals, animals, dangerous? Do they hear you laugh at racist jokes? Do they hear you excuse harmful stereotypes because they're just jokes? Do they hear you agree when people cherry pick statistics and pretend like that defines an entire race? That teaches kids too. And then when situations happen in sports, in relationships, jealousy, embarrassment, those situations don't just stay as normal disagreements between friends. It becomes something much darker. Because when you're raised to believe that you're better than someone, losing something to them feels like an insult. Being rejected for them feels like an insult. Watching them succeed feels like an insult. And this is why it is so dangerous. Racism isn't just saying a racial slur.
Latasha Harlins was only 15 years old when she walked into a Los Angeles store to buy orange juice for her family's breakfast. She never made it home that day. It was March 16, 1991, when Latasha walked into the Empire Liquor Market and Deli in South Central Los Angeles. She grabbed a bottle of orange juice that cost $1.79 and she put it in her backpack. The store owner, Soon Ja-do, accused her of stealing it, but Latasha had money in her hand. Witnesses said that Latasha intended on paying. Police later reviewed surveillance video and they also concluded that she was going to pay. What happened next was caught on video. There was a confrontation between Latasha and Du. Du grabbed at Latasha and Latasha hit her during the struggle. She then went to move away, and that is when she was shot from behind by Du. Latasha lost her life that day at 15 years old. The orange juice was $1.79, and she was going to pay for it with the money that was in her hand. Soon Ja-do was charged in Latasha's case, and a jury convicted her of voluntary manslaughter. But the sentence that she received is one of the many reasons that people still talk about this case in 2026. Du was sentenced to probation, community service, she had to pay a fine, and she had to pay restitution for funeral cost. She served no time in prison. Latasha attended Westchester High School where she earned straight A's. She has been remembered as smart, protective, and someone who cared for the younger children around her. She wanted to become an attorney, and she had talked about creating programs for neighborhood youth. Latasha Harlins' name is still remembered in Los Angeles today. There's a playground named after her, Latasha Harlins Playground. There is also a mural honoring her life. It has the words "We Queens" on it, and it also has a quote attributed to Latasha about being reliable, trustworthy, honest, talented, and caring. Latasha Harlins was a young girl with big dreams that she never got to see through. She would have been such a positive part of her community. But that was cut short over a $1.79 orange juice. And the person that took her life served no time in prison. So if you've been confused about the outrage regarding the Cyrus Carmack Belton verdict, you shouldn't be so confused. I will keep speaking out about these cases until the value of a black child's life is more than a bottled drink. And I know some people hate me for talking about these cases and speaking up, but the people that hate me for it are not people that I would want to like me. We will never forget Latasha Harlins. Rest in peace to another life gone way too soon.
There are moments that remind you just how deeply stereotypes can affect people's life. Like, I just saw this clip of, the man that made a comment like many people interpreted as reinforcing harmful stereotypes about black youths. And it got me thinking about something much bigger than politics. Like, it got me thinking about what it means to grow up black in America and how exhausting it must be to constantly fight assumptions that you are dangerous before people even know your name. And no child should have to carry that burden. And one of the most heartbreaking realities is that many black parents feel they have to teach their children lessons that other parents never think about. And they teach them how to behave, like they teach them how to behave during police encounters, how to respond if someone falsely accuses them of something, and how to stay alert in situations where they may be the only black person present. And some people hear that and immediately call it racist. Like, they say, why would you tell your child not to be the only black kid in a group of white friends? But that is not criticism. Like, completely people ignore why many parents have those fears in the first place. Like, this conversation doesn't come from hate, it comes from fear. It comes from fear of losing a child, something that we have seen from people with such group of friends. And they come from seeing stories of after stories where black children or teenagers end up being harmed after being falsely accused or unfairly treated, whether it's being accused of stealing something they never touched, or being viewed as suspicious simply because of the skin color. And these incidents leave parents wondering how they can keep their children safe. So when parents see these stories over the like these stories over and over, they don't have the luxury to pretend like everything is fine, and their first responsibility is protecting their child. Like, imagine living in fear that your son or daughter could be judged before they even speak. Imagine worrying that a misunderstanding could become something much worse simply because someone saw a black child and immediately assumed the worst. That is not paranoia. That is fear shaped in real events that have happened to real families. And that's why stereotypes are like so dangerous. Like, when society repeatedly paints a black child as future criminals, troublemakers, or threats, those ideas don't just stay on TV or social media. They influence how teachers treat students, how security guard respond, and how strangers react, and even how juries or law enforcement may perceive people. Children should be seen as children. A black child laughing with a friend should not automatically be viewed as suspicious. A black teenager walking through a neighborhood should not have to worry that someone assumes they are committing a crime. They deserve the same innocence, grace, benefit of doubt that every child deserves. And it's so heartbreaking that so many black families feel they have to prepare their children for situations that shouldn't exist in the first place. And same people here, some people hear these concerns and immediately become defensive. They say not everyone is racist, and it's okay, but not every white person is racist, and not every interaction is motivated by racism. But acknowledging the fact doesn't erase like but acknowledging that fact doesn't erase the experiences of families who have witnessed discriminations or loved ones or lost their loved ones. Like, you can recognize that many people are kind while also admitting that racial bias still exists and continues to affect lives. And those two things can both be true. The goal isn't to divide people by race. The goal is to create a world where parents no longer feel they have to give survival lessons to their children because of the color of their skin. And we should all want black children to feel safe going to school, hanging out with friends, and joining some sports, and enjoying childhood without carrying the weight of stereotypes. Like, we should all want society where accusations are based on evidence and not assumptions. And we should all challenge that a paint like we should all challenge language that paints entire group of people with one negative brush. When influential figures repeat or reinforce harmful stereotypes, those words matter because they shape public attitude and make prejudice feel acceptable. Instead of teaching children to fear one another, we should be teaching empathy, fairness, and accountability. We should encourage people to judge others by their actions and not stereotypes of their colors. At the end of the day, every parents want the same thing. They want their child to come home safe. They want their child to have opportunities, and they want their child to grow up, chase their dreams, and live a life full. And black children deserve that too. They deserve to grow old. They deserve to make mistakes without those mistakes being seen as proof of a stereotype. Like, they deserve to be viewed as children first and not as threats. And hopefully one day parents won't have to have these painful conversations about the world. Will finally be in a place where children will be treated with the same dignity, the same compassion, and the same chance to simply be a child. And that is what we're all hoping for. And yeah, we can work towards that. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know about what you think. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video.